Today, I would like to tell you about the story of Samson and Delilah. Some of you may already know this story, but some of you may not. The Bible reference for this story is in Judges chapter 13 to chapter 16. In this story, you will learn how Samson was born, how he lived his life, and how he died. So listen carefully. From the Bible, we already know that Samson's father was called Manoah, and his mother's name isn't mentioned. Samson's mother was barren before Samson was born, and she was barren for a long time. She was really upset because she could not have any children. So one day, the angel of the Lord came and appeared before her and said, "You will conceive and bear a child. You must take care of him and not allow him to drink any wine or beer, not to eat forbidden food, and to never cut off his hair. For from the day of his birth, he will be devoted to God and live as a Nazarite." And the angel left her. When the baby was born, the parents named their son Samson. Samson grew to become a strong and powerful young man, and the power of the Lord always dwelled within him. Samson was extremely strong because God gave him strength every day. However, the Philistines didn't approve of Samson and wanted to kill him. When Samson was in Philistine, he met a Philistine woman and loved her with his whole heart. Samson loved her very much that he went home and told his parents how he had met this Philistine woman and wanted to marry her. Nevertheless, his parents said no, and that he was to only marry an Israelite, just as God had instructed him to do. Samson, however, was furious and started arguing with his parents. Eventually, he got his parents into letting him go and marry this woman. So when he was on his way down to Timnah, he came face to face with this roaring young lion. And so he grabbed him with his bare hands and ripped him apart. And so from this, children of God, we can already understand that God's power was with him daily to strengthen him, to be with him, and to give him courage. And we can already see how impressed God was with him. And so eventually he got married to this woman, this unfaithful, ungodly woman, but later on she died. Years passed by, and the power of God still dwelled within him, until suddenly, one day, he met another Philistine woman named Delilah in Gaza. He loved her very much and wanted to just spend time with her. However, the rulers of the Philistines weren't happy and called Delilah in secret and told her, "You must get Samson to tell you the secret of his strength. If you do, we will give you 1,100 silver shekels. But if you don't, we will kill you and your family." Since then, Delilah had been nagging Samson into telling her the secret of his strength. Straight after the meeting with the rulers of the Philistines, Delilah went up to Samson and kept urging him to tell her the secret of his strength. Samson said that if Delilah got 7 fresh bowstrings that had not been dried up and tied him with it, he would become as weak as any other man. So that night, the Philistines were ready to capture Samson when they were given the signals. So when Samson was asleep, Delilah went into Samson's room, tied him just like he said, and awoke him, shouting, "Awake, the Philistines are upon you." Immediately, Samson awoke and tried to break free. He did. And so Delilah, however, was feeling upset because Samson didn't trust her with the secret of his strength. So she went to him and said, "You don't trust me," and she stormed off. This happened 2 more times. The second lie Samson said to Delilah was, "If anyone gets new ropes that have never been used and tie me with it, I'll become as weak as any other man." The third lie Samson said to Delilah was, "If you weave 7 braids of my head into the loom and tighten it with the pin, I'll become as weak as any other man." As the lies went on, Delilah grew sadder because she thought Samson was making a fool out of her, but she never gave up. She still persevered. So the 4th time was different. Samson grew tired of her constantly nagging at him to tell her the secret of his strength. So he finally decided to tell her the truth. "I was born a Nazarite. Before I was born, the angel of the Lord came and appeared before my mother and said, 'You are to never get a razor to touch his head, because if it does, I'll become as weak as any other man.'" Since then, Delilah had knew that Samson was telling her the truth. So when he was asleep, Delilah went and cut off the 7 deadlocks in his hair and awoke him, shouting, "Awake, The Philistines are upon you." Immediately, Samson awoke and tried to break free, but could not break free. Immediately, the power of the Lord had left Samson, and the Philistines captured Samson and took him away to be a prisoner. From then, Samson had to grind and grain and work for them as a slave. But then his hair began to grow back again. Meanwhile, the Philistines were having a great time praising their God. Then some of the members asked to bring out Samson so that he may perform for them and entertain them. So they brought out Samson and they put him in between two pillars. Now, in between the two pillars, he asked God to give him strength again to push those pillars, just for the last time at least. God listened to his prayers and gave him strength again. He pushed with all his might, and the pillars fell, and crashing so many Philistines, including Samson, and from that Samson died. A few days later, his friends and family came and took his dead body and buried him with his parents' dead body. That was the death of Samson. So now I'm going to be telling you all the moral of this story. And so the moral of this story is that we should obey God and we should obey our parents. We should always listen to the Bible and read it. We should not be like Samson, who went away and disobeyed God and disobeyed his parents. Instead, children of God, as we live in this world, we can see that this world is corrupt. It's a deceitful place where no one cares about God anymore. Instead, we should read the Bible. We should follow the Bible, and we should put the Bible into our practical lives. We should listen to the 10 Commandments. And when we do this, we'll be making God really happy, because as we read the Bible daily, God will give us courage to overthrow and resist any temptations that come into our life. Praise the Lord.